guys? It's back with Cooking with Chris. Today I'm going to cook one of my favorite meals. This is a Texas brat with some onions and some peppers, and of course we're going to baste this in some beer. So a little known fact about Texas is when Texas was still an independent republic, there were tons of Germans and tons of Czechs, tons of Slovakians, tons of all sorts of Europeans that came in, and they brought with them an amazing sausage culture. Now, up here in North Texas where we are, it's not as fantastic as it is down in the Austin and the Hill Country area, but we still can do some amazing things with this here. So, for the brats, we have some veal and pork brats that I picked up. You guys saw that in an earlier clip. One red pepper, one green pepper, some onion, and of course some hoagies. And of course we're gonna go with the Real Ale here. Real Ale Brewing Company is one of the OG brewers out of the Austin area. I could have gone with the Dallas area beer, but Real Ale is what was less expensive, and it's gonna have the perfect color for what we wanna do. And last but not least, we're gonna do our own mustard here. So let's get to chopping. All right guys, now that we have all of our onions and peppers and everything cooked up, we're gonna start laying our brats in. So I like to cook in a cast iron pan. It's really heat resilient, so in goes the brats. Get these laid out really nicely. Now a lot of people will brown these beforehand. A lot of people will brown the onions and peppers beforehand. I'm just gonna do it my way, which is a bit of a braise, and this will make probably a little bit more sense later. I'm just poking a little bit of holes in there so that we get all of that goodness to go into the brats. So now what we do is we just wanna make a nice bed for the vegetables. There's no real right way to do this. I like to just lay it out. And then we wanna get the onions. Now the onions I feel are much better, nice and broken up. That one's a little thick, so we're gonna kick that one to the side. I like to slice my onions really thin. I think they cook a lot better. We don't want the pile to get too high, and again, this will make sense when we put this on the fire, but we get this nice covering for the brats. Now, next up, what we wanna do is get this nice beer that we spoke of earlier, and we are just gonna pour this over. Now you can use any beer that you want, literally. Probably wouldn't pick an IPA, but I like to use a nice darker beer. I think the toasted malts in the beer really make the beer brat pop quite a bit more. So it's just simply pouring it over the whole thing. Now how much beer is enough and how much beer is too much is really kind of up to the individual. I want to do it like this because as you'll see in just a moment, we're going to let that beer really steam into all of this. So even though the veggies go in kind of raw, they're going to come out nice and soft. So we take a little bit of highly inexpensive aluminum foil, and we're going to make a bit of a tent for it. So I don't want to completely cover this up. I just want to loosely cover this. You can see that there's a hole in the top right here. That's not critical. We want to keep the garbage from the grill out. There's going to be some wood, there's going to be some cinders that are kind of moving around, so we just kind of want to do that. In fact, I'm going to probably loosely put another piece on, just for some structural support is all that we need here. And that's really all the preparation for our beer braised brats. Now our fire is still preparing, so once that fire is ready, I'm going to throw some wood on it and get this thing cooking for a good while. Okay, so just a basic charcoal fire here. Spread the coals out a little bit. We want to get that nice smoke going, so we're going to place some wood briquette or wood logs on it, and that'll smoke up really nicely. I got the vents fully opened to get the airflow going nicely. Smoke's coming out the top. I'm going to cook it at around 225, 250-ish. That gauge is not completely accurate, but it works for me and I've learned how to use it. So that's what we're going to go with. All right, so again, we're just going to use a very inexpensive grill here. I'm going to place this right in here. We got our fire already going. We got our wood on there, and we're just going to let this cook for just a while, and then it's just a basic matter of heat management. Okay, so now we're going to make some stone ground mustard. Right here you can see I have some brown mustard and some yellow mustard. It's 2 parts brown mustard to 1 part yellow mustard. I tried to get black mustard, it just wasn't going to happen today. So the first thing we do is we want to roughly grind this up. Try not to make it go everywhere. I want to keep the grounds pretty solid, but also cracked. So it's going to take some pressure and some muscle to do this. So I'm not going to bore you with how hard to grind this. Instead, I'm going to show you quickly what we're going to put in the mustard. So grab a small bowl. I'm going to dump all of these spices actually in the mustard so they have a chance to talk. So what do we have here? We've got some kosher salt. We've got some turmeric, which we grabbed from the Indian market. We'll see how this flavor mixes. We got some black pepper, and we have possibly too much white pepper. So we're going to put all of this in here so that all the spices get a chance to familiarize themselves. And it's all going in here. So we're going to grind this up. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take we just have some red wine vinegar. I typically make this with white wine vinegar, but this is what we have today. So I'm going to put roughly a tablespoon. I want mine kind of vinegary, so maybe 2, I guess it's 2. And then the next thing we want is we have this really nice Tupelo honey from Savannah, Georgia, that my old boss got me. You can really only get Tupelo honey in a very specific place in Georgia. So we're gonna make this really nice. We want this pretty sweet. I thought about using sugar, but instead I think I'm gonna go ahead and use this Tupelo honey and get this in there so it's working nicely. Once this is all in there and we scrape everything off, we simply mix everything up. So this is probably easier with a whisker, but I want to get everything blended nicely. So we got the right consistency, quick taste. Yeah, it's got a nice sweetness to it. We might, debating. We might want to put a little bit more honey in here, but in the meantime, I'm just going to pour this in the bowl and get to grinding the mix. All right, it's getting dark, so we're just going to take a quick look. The fire's going very nicely in here. We're getting the temps that we want. We look like we're cooking around 250, so this is probably the last time we're gonna look at this for a while. We got our foil going. Wow, it really burns the eyes. And we're just gonna take a quick peek inside to see how everything's going. And then again, just loosely, very, very loosely cover this up. Let's give it a little bit of a vent hole so we get a little smoke in there. And I think that'll do it. All right, guys, welcome back to Cooking with Chris. We have a very special guest, Maylee from San Diego via Colorado, is back with us now. So this is my oldest daughter. Not a huge meat eater, but is very, very stoked to see this. And we're gonna do the big reveal right now. So this has been smoking for probably 4 hours. We took a quick break to go take Maylee to the airport. And this is what we've got now. So let's see what these brats look like. They're in a nice syrupy mixture. I think these are perfect. We got 4 of them.
Looks super yummy.
Super yummy. Maylee says super yummy. She probably won't eat one of them. She'll probably try one, but she'll, oh, we got one more hiding in there. So what we're gonna do now is, do you wanna take a quick shot of this? Look at these. We're gonna take all of this goodness out. All this goodness we're gonna take and place over here. These are gonna go on the brats later on. So if you're doing this for a football watch party, these are gonna take a little bit more time than you might expect. Place these over here, and then we're gonna make a quick reduction of the sauce itself. I kind of want this to thicken up quite a bit. It's been in here with the peppers for a good while. It's been on the fire for a good while. It's got that veal and the pork and the sausage going. So we're gonna place this and kind of, I think, reduce this down. I'm not gonna do a whole roux. I'm just gonna get the sauce to kind of thicken up a little bit so we have a little bit for the brats themselves. So first thing we're gonna do is this bread. We got this from the local market. You saw that in an earlier video. We're just gonna kind of slice it and fluff it a little bit. We got this nice and warm. And we have the brat itself. We're gonna lay in here, down, and we have all of this good stuff here. Look at this right here. We thickened it up quite a bit. We got these peppers, we got the onions, and we're just gonna lay it out on the brat itself. And we have this pepper. It didn't thicken up the way I quite wanted it to. It's still a little bit loose, but we're gonna let that sit overnight. In the meantime, we're gonna put this down on the side here, just to kind of give it that nice grainy flavor. It's probably too much pepper. There we go. And that is the finale right there. All right, guys, so first bite, we're gonna slice this in half. Half of it's gonna go to myself, half is gonna go to Maylee. It's not slicing real nicely, but here you go. Here's the brat. Here is the peppers, the onions, the good stuff. We got the pepper, the mustard on it too. So first bite goes to Maylee. Second bite to myself, and let's see what we think.
Good.
Yep. Just like you remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Old football games.
I like that. It's a nice crunch. Good.
Perfect. This is absolutely perfect.
Lots of pig flavor.